Everything must be on the table. That is the underlying philosophy of the Bipartisan Policy Center's task force on debt reduction. Everything has to be on the table from a moral point of view and from a shared sacrifice point of view. You can't ask just one section of society to sacrifice and not take care of everyone else under our social contract. Only a balanced approach to our looming fiscal catastrophe will stabilize our federal debt. Such an approach recognizes simple arithmetic. Economic growth alone, raising taxes alone, cutting spending alone will fail. And such an approach maintains our competitiveness and global leadership without breaking the underlying social contract that this nation has built over the past century. The co-chairs of our task force, Senator Pete Domenici and Dr. Alice Rivlin, agreed to a comprehensive and balanced approach. And all 19 members of the task force had to agree to examine every aspect of federal fiscal policy. The task force met for a year and produced a plan that recommends fundamental changes in both spending and revenues. All of our task force members recognize that health care costs are one of the primary drivers of our debt. Systemic changes are needed to rein them in. We take a moderate and balanced approach that gradually phases out the tax exclusion for employer-provided health insurance and fundamentally reforms both Medicare and Medicaid. In Medicare, we move within a decade to a premium support system where beneficiaries receive support payments that they can either use to purchase private health care plans on a regulated exchange or to remain in traditional Medicare. Unlike some other models, our support payments grow at the rate of the economy plus 1 percentage point. That bends the health care cost curve sufficiently, but not so much as to endanger the ability of seniors to afford health coverage. Our plan also controls cost in traditional Medicare. We empower the Independent Payment Advisory Board to recommend changes to Medicare's basic benefit structure. Right now, Medicaid is a game between states and the federal government. Each side pushes off costs onto the other, breeding inefficiency and raising health care costs nationwide. The task force plan ends this expensive cost shifting by separating and delineating financial and administrative responsibilities for Medicaid. Some parts will go to the states and some to the feds, giving both parties incentives to reduce costs. We tackle Social Security not for deficit reduction, but to improve it and ensure it remains solvent for future generations through a balanced approach. First, adjust the benefit formula for longer life expectancy without raising retirement ages. Second, increase the level of income subject to the payroll tax for Social Security. And third, increase the minimum benefit. These and other adjustments will achieve sustainable solvency. In national defense, personnel costs are the biggest spending driver. The task force recommends a 5-year hard freeze on defense. We illustrate how these savings could be achieved. This plan maintains our unparalleled world standing while achieving important deficit reduction. For other spending items, here's what we suggest. Freeze annually appropriated domestic spending for 4 years. Reform pension programs and adjust other entitlements such as farm programs. We recommend a complete overhaul of the tax code. Reduce the 6 individual brackets to 2 and cut them to 15% and 27%. Cut the present corporate tax rate of 35% to 27%. Close corporate tax loopholes, eliminate the vast majority of tax expenditures, and simplify and improve the rest. Convert both the home mortgage interest deduction and the charitable contribution deduction into flat refundable tax credits, increasing fairness. Finally, increase help for lower income workers through changes to the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit. We recommend a 6.5 deficit reduction sales tax that will raise enough revenue to reach our debt stabilization goal. These changes simplify the tax system, increase compliance and progressivity, and allow more than half of all taxpayers to comply without filing a tax return. No debt reduction plan works unless it's enforced. We urge adoption of something we're calling Save-Go. It's based on our experience negotiating major budget deals in the past. SaveGo builds mostly on the 1990 Andrews Air Force Base Agreement that produced a process called PAYGO. That kept deficits from rising, but we need now a reform that cuts projected deficits. That is what SaveGo would do. The fiscal policies we recommend reach our goal of stabilizing the national debt at 60% of GDP. We involve all citizens. We keep our pledges to the most needy among us, and we're proud that major media analysts have praised our proposals as balanced, realistic, specific, and bipartisan. We need a deficit reduction deal soon, and we think the deal will look a lot like the one developed by these 19 citizens on the Bipartisan Policy Center's Debt Reduction Task Force.